man, this movie just confirmed my strange and enormous crush on Adam Driver. Okay, so Midnight Special is about this father and his friend who are trying to keep his son safe from the government because he clearly has enormous supernatural abilities and is able to crack government codes that just is not possible to crack under any circumstance. So you've got government agents trying to track them down, these specialists trying to figure out how this kid knows what he knows, and really, well, we don't know. It's your classic keep the kid safe from the government because they think he's an evil weapon, but really he's just a kid. He's a kid that's been burdened with this thing that he's not quite sure what to do with it, but he has it and there's nothing he can do about it, so we need to keep him safe because he's not the threat that everyone thinks he's going to be. And this movie is quite slow. Often I don't like that in a film if there's just little to no substance in the slow parts. But this, even though it was slow, I loved every moment of it. There was a lot of drawn out sequences of just kind of showing different people's faces in the same place, just all kind of looking scared or tense or nervous, but it worked. It didn't feel long, it didn't feel awkward, it didn't feel drawn out. I wanted to know how these characters were reacting because even though this isn't a character piece, there's not much to these characters, I still cared about them from the beginning. And these characters we're following are meant to be the outlaws, they're meant to be the bad guys, if you can call them that. And even though they were both kind of silent protagonists or joint protagonists, I cared a lot about them. And I think the greatest moments came at the end of the quiet, slow sections because all of a sudden it would just go bam. And it would be such a massive contrast between what you'd just seen and everything would happen all at once. And it just made it really, really, really exciting. Like, you've just been kind of watching these people sit around, discuss, get ready for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And it's really quite thrilling because it goes all out. It doesn't pull any punches, like, it goes all out. And this film was really quite emotional in unexpected ways. I felt so much for the poor boy every time he had to do something against his will and he wasn't sure why it was happening and he wasn't sure how it worked, but he had to do it anyway, and you could tell it put him in pain and it made him scared, but he had to do it, and I felt really, really sad for him. And even though it wasn't a major character piece, and you know that it wasn't going to be the kind of film that had any sort of humour or lightness to it, they did try with Adam Driver's character. He has a few dorky moments that you kind of just sort of do a light laugh at, and it adds the lightness that I think every film needs, even in the smallest way. I don't think a film can just be completely dark, serious from start to finish. You need something, however small, to kind of lighten the mood a bit, and Adam Driver kind of gave that to this film. Every time he kind of just awkwardly shuffled onto screen, I was like, "Aw, you're really adorable." Sorry, I have a bit of a thing for Adam Driver. It's the new thing for me. Like, seriously, can I get an unmasked version of this poster? Because it would be really, really cool. But yeah, the performances are wonderful in this film. Michael Shannon is great. Joel Edgerton continues to be the chameleon that he is. Every time I see this guy, he just looks and like feels completely different on screen, and I love that about actors. And Joel Edgerton is one of those ones that not many people will know his name, but chances are you've seen him in something. You're just not quite sure who he is because he looks different every single time. I felt like Kirsten Dunst's character was just a bit of a throwaway. She was just kind of there because she needed to be. There wasn't much to her. She didn't offer much. She kind of just cowered in the corner a lot. Which I guess you kind of would do if this happened in real life and you had no way to deal with it, really. But it was just a bit of a throwaway. You could tell she was the lesser of all the characters and didn't have much to offer. But that's not a bad thing, you know, people like that do exist. People like that need to exist in movies this way. They can't all be big tough guys that know exactly what to do to get them out of the situation, because if you've got a supernatural kid, chances are you're not going to know how to deal with it. And then it had a really interesting sort of religious cult aspect to it, which I wasn't really expecting, and there's not a whole lot of it, but it's still nice to explore that kind of different area of a supernatural sci-fi movie. You know, the kid and his dad have an interesting story with the church group, which they don't go into full depth about, and I kind of wish they did, but it is interesting nonetheless. I'm going to talk lightly about the ending because I thought it was a bit strange, but not sci-fi strange, like not the sci-fi strange you'd expect from a sci-fi movie. It was strange in the sense that it didn't really fit with what I was expecting, and also not in a good way. It just felt a bit random and a bit too big for what the film was setting up. I wasn't expecting to see something like that at the end of it, and I don't think that's in a, oh wow, what a shock, what a plot twist way. It's kind of in a, well, that's a bit different. That wasn't the tone you were setting at all, but okay. So yeah, the ending I thought came a bit out of nowhere. It was a bit too grand for what the film was. It was quite subdued. It was very, as I said, it was a very slow film. And all of a sudden the ending just kind of pops up and it's like, And I had to sit and think about this film for a while afterwards and think whether I really, really enjoyed it or just found it very, very odd. Because it doesn't really delve into much of the backstory to the extent that you'd want to know. It kind of leaves a lot out in the open. I'd give this film a 7.5. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought its slowness really helped build up the tension that it needed to finally go boom when it needed to. But at the same time, I was kind of wanting a bit more in terms of story and substance and not just kind of the chase. But I still enjoyed it a lot. There just wasn't as much to it as I was expecting there to be. Not that that's a particularly bad thing, but I feel like it needed just a bit more. And the ending just kind of coming out of nowhere really, really fast with little to no explanation. But it left me wanting more. And not wanting more in a, they're going to make a sequel, this is going to be a franchise type thing. Because it's not, it's a little indie sci-fi movie. I knew that this was the only thing I was going to get of this world. And I felt like I could have just done with a bit more to kind of satisfy my film experience. But overall I enjoyed it. I'm not a massive sci-fi fan, but I really, really loved this film. I loved the performances, I really felt for the characters. I was interested in the story and then didn't get as much as I wanted, but I still liked it a lot. Thank you for watching my review of Midnight Special. I will see you in the next one.